The bridge of the Red October, a Soviet nuclear submarine, is tense with anticipation as a torpedo knives toward it. Impact means the ship will never surface again. Captain Ramius, in the movie The Hunt for Red October, turns to a CIA agent, you remember the movie, right? And asks, "So what books did you write?" Talking about books in this moment of imminent death seems like total lunacy. Are you kidding me? We're all about to go down and here you talk about books? But heroic Captain Ramius has a plan. A plan he's shared with none of his sailors who are totally in the dark, have no idea what's coming, and have now no choice but in blind faith wait for their imminent death. But at the last second, and somehow predictably of course, because it is Hollywood, heroic Captain Ramius steers the submarine into the torpedo's path, causing it to strike before its warhead is armed. This is quintessential heroic leadership. It's fearless, it's charismatic, it's overconfident. It makes for great Hollywood material. But despite what happened 2 days ago, it's utterly unrealistic and totally outdated. Yet many of us, even subconsciously, still gravitate towards this heroic leadership paradigm, where the leader sits on top of the org chart, has all the data, all the information, and makes all the calls him or herself. A leadership paradigm that's been handed down from generations before us. Now, we might not see ourselves as a heroic leader like Captain Ramius, but how many of us, if we're honest, at times have done some of these things? Not communicated enough about our thinking, our decisions, and in the process failed to gain buy-in or enthusiasm for our decision. Have you been on that bus? You're the leader, you're driving, you're all excited, you're going places. You look back to check on your team's on the other bus, driving in the other direction. I have driven that bus. Held onto control too tightly, maybe even micromanaged. I know, me neither, never. Or, and this is my favorite, heroically did our team members work instead of delegating, because we wanted to get it done just right, just the way we wanted it, versus holding our team members accountable. I know I've done all these things, and I've worked for plenty of leaders and coached plenty of leaders who have, with often devastating results. Turnover increases, productivity declines, creativity suffers, making for very unhappy workplaces and ultimately killing the bottom line. But in a world that's changing faster than ever, competition, including for talent, ruthless, and yet another highly diverse generation entering the workforce, a new kind of leadership is required. A new kind of leadership that puts self-awareness, engagement, belonging, a growth mindset, and psychological safety at the forefront of everything we do, all while delivering results. A new kind of leadership that's tough on results and tender on people. That new kind of leadership I call leading with radical humility. Let me tell you why I'm so excited about this. Over the last 35 years, I had the privilege to lead teams in the uber-competitive world of ultra-endurance competition to numerous wins and records. Multi-day adventure races, bike races ranging in length from 500 to 3,000 miles. I've led teams in business, academia, and in complex peacekeeping operations in the Balkans, in Africa, and in the Middle East. But you know what was my biggest leadership challenge? I also served as the president of my boys' school parent-teacher conference, association, PTA. President of the PTA. You know, reigning in all those parents who are convinced the universe really was created to evolve around their little darling kids. I know we have none of these parents in the room. That's a leadership challenge, if there ever was one, requiring plenty of humility. But in all seriousness, I'm telling you a little bit about my background to let you know that I've seen firsthand what happens when we let go of outdated heroic leadership and embrace leading with radical humility. The three pillars of leading with radical humility we're going to talk about today. First, leading like a compass. Having the humility to know that as a leader, we can't and mustn't do it all ourselves. Instead, we need a strong, empowered team to help us get there. Second pillar, tough on results, tender on people, holding my team members to the highest standards while building meaningful and collaborative relationships with them. And lastly, championing a fearless culture, a psychologically safe culture. We'll talk through these three pillars today. I'm going to have you do 2 interactive exercises. I will not do a Q&A. I'll hang around afterwards. You can have a chat with me outside if you want to challenge me on some stuff. I always love that. So, in my research over the last 10 years, I've consistently found that leaders who embrace these 3 pillars operate at the highest level. Business, government, military, even professional sports. So let's do one quick preview. What do you think the best sports teams across all of time and all of sports have in common? Anybody, just yell it out. What do the best sports teams have in common? Teamwork, what else? Talent? Effort. Competition. Enlightenment. Money, yes. Leaders, absolutely. All of these things to some extent. But according to very thorough research, the dominance of the 17 best sports teams across all of time and all of sports corresponds with the arrival and departure of one particular player. And that player would eventually become the captain. What's more, these captains lacked superstar talent, they avoided the spotlight, they combined focused, aggressive play with the willingness to do the unthankful tasks in the shadow, and they all had a low-key, democratic communication style. In other words, the best sports teams across all of time and all of sports are led by radically humble captains. Carla Overbeck, the former US women's soccer captain. Any soccer fans in the room? You know, the real football? Yeah. She only scored 7 goals in her entire international career, which even for a defender is low. She would humbly always look for ways to pass the ball, even if she could score herself. On and off the field, Overbeck displayed great humility, often schlepping her teammates back to their hotel room after an especially grueling international flight. I'm the captain, she says, but I'm no better than anybody else. I'm certainly not a better soccer player. It's hard seeing Captain Ramu say this, right? Out of the public eye, in training or practice, Overbeck pushed herself and her teammates relentlessly. Her incredible work ethic, her back-schlepping humility off the field, her passing humility on the field allowed her to amass huge credit that she could spend if she needed to hold her team members accountable. Her being tender on people gave her license to be tough on results. Overbeck hates the spotlight of speaking in public, but when they were in training or traveling, she would constantly rally her teammates, her troops around their true north purpose of becoming and being the best soccer team on the planet. She led like a compass by relentlessly communicating their common goal, the best soccer team on the planet. At the same time, she gave everybody on the team a voice. She encouraged the younger players to speak up. She provided feedback, asked for feedback, provided mentoring. And in the process, built a fearless, psychologically safe culture at the US women's soccer team. During Overbeck's humble leadership, tough on results, tender on people, lead like a compass, build a fearless culture, the US women's soccer team dominated the competition almost at will, with numerous World Cup victories and Olympic medals. I'm telling you this little story for one key reason. Embracing humble leadership is within the reach of all of us. If it is possible to lead with humility and achieve kick-ass results in professional sports, the high-pressure environment that is professional sports, then doing exactly that is within every single person in this room. And the best part is, we don't need to have a fancy title or lead a large team to benefit from it. It's the small things within the reach of all of us we can do right today after we leave this room. How we listen to our kids, our family members, our significant others tonight. How we hold our team members accountable tomorrow. How we conduct our one-on-ones, our department meetings next week. These small shifts towards humble leadership, when done consistently, leading to excellence. So let's dive in. Pillar number 1, lead like a compass. Leading like a compass means providing our team members with true north versus giving them a detailed map on exactly how they need to go from where they are to where they need to be. It's the difference between comprehensive delegation, empowerment, and micromanagement. It's the difference between being relevant, highly relevant, versus too involved in the weeds. Let me make it come alive with a government story. And you go like, yeah, right. Give me a good government story. I think this one is actually a pretty good one. It's a glorious spring morning in Boston. The then Massachusetts Governor Devil Patrick had a thing of rare beauty as a public official. A day without appointments. He just finished a workout, was driving home, when his phone rings. It's the head of emergency management from the finish line of the Boston Marathon. Sir, we have a horrific disaster, terrible scenes. We need you to come down. We need to set up a command center. Most of us can remember how we felt when we first heard about the Boston Marathon bombing. How we felt in shock, how we felt vulnerable, maybe even how we felt angry. And how we felt for those who lost loved ones and those who suffered grave injury. We can all remember that. But what most of us are less familiar with is the highly effective response to the disaster. According to experts who study these events, the response to the Boston Marathon bombing has been credited as one of the most effective and collaborative responses to a disaster ever studied. And the key ingredient of that effectiveness was the leadership by Devil Patrick. He did something nobody else did. He didn't tell people what to do. He didn't make more decisions. He didn't rally the troops more. He did something nobody else did. He entered the command center each and every time asking, how can I help? The governor's leadership spread through all response teams and agencies, a leadership of deferring control and authority to those best suited for the task. Governor Patrick was keenly aware of the very common trap all of us fall in during crisis, the trap to micromanage in order to feel in control. The trap to grab the reins, yank, and overstep into areas best handled by specialists. But leading like a compass does not mean being passive. Governor Patrick relentlessly communicated their common goal: save lives, and yes, bring the perpetrators to justice. He also allocated resources at a high level. He was highly relevant by allocating resources at a high level because he was not too involved in the weeds. He made clear the FBI was in charge of the investigation, the mayor of Boston is running his streets. He also realized he could add tremendous value as a trusted communicator of government, giving people in Boston, Massachusetts, around the globe hope. And he continued to enter the command center each and every time asking, how can I help? I sure hope that none of us will ever have to lead through such a horrific experience. And nothing can ever take away the pain and suffering of those impacted by the events. And yet, there's a lesson for all of us here. With our world moving faster than ever, our frontline peoples often do not have time to feed a question up the org chart and wait for a response back. They need to make smart, independent, good decisions at the front lines, much like during disaster response. It might seem counterintuitive, but the faster things move, the more complex our world becomes, the more we need to give up control and authority. The faster things move, the more complex our world becomes, the more we need to empower and delegate. How do we do that? One thing we absolutely need to have in order to lead like a compass is clarity on our common goal. Rather than seeking control, we seek clarity on our common goals. How do we get there? Here's one quick hack we can all implement with our team members. Ask yourself this very simple question. Together with your team, what is the one thing? The one thing, not 3, not 5. Remember Jim Collins? You have more than 3 priorities, you have none. What's the one thing we need to do extraordinarily well around here in order to win? The one thing. And that one thing becomes our common goal. For Governor Patrick, it was save lives. Let me share a couple of common goals of teams I've been a member of. peacekeeping mission in the Middle East. This one is, yes. And because it's the UN, it's about 14 words too long, but you get the gist here. Observe, report, investigate all incidences that violate UN Security Council Resolution 1701. Now, important thing about the common goal. It spells out the what, the why, but the how is up to me. I, as the team commander, can decide every morning, are we fulfilling our common goal by patrolling today? Yes, no. If we're patrolling, are we patrolling on foot, in an SUV, in an armored vehicle? The how is up to me. Similarly, common goal of a 530-mile non-stop race across Oregon, safely win the race and beat the course record, safety equals speed. The what's defined, the how's up to me. Do we attack in the flats, in the uphills? Do we start slow, finish fast? I had to attack in the flats because I'm too heavy for the climbs. So the common goal. Let me make the power of common goal come alive in action, quite literally in action. D-Day. The freeing of Nazi-occupied Europe by the Allied forces had been planned for months and years. But within hours of the planes taking off to the UK, the whole plan fell to pieces. For those of you who are familiar with D-Day or even have seen the very good TV series Band of Brothers, anybody see that? Yeah. So you know the Allied forces were spread all over Normandy. Virtually no soldier landed in the designated drop zone they were supposed to land. They were spread all over the place. But because every soldier, down to the last private, had internalized their common goal, which was what? To secure key terrain. Bridges, roadways, villages. They had all internalized that. They were able to improvise. They started to form little ad hoc teams of 2, 3, 4, 5 and started to fight to achieve the common goal. D-Day was a planning disaster, but the common goal saved the day. For those of you who like a little model here, so this is old school map leadership. And by the way, I think we can make those slides available for those of you who are interested afterwards. So old school leadership, I as the leader set the goal, and then I tell my staff members, my employees, my minions, exactly how they need to go from where they are to where they need to be. Compass leadership understands that this has never been effective. We just saw the power of common goal during D-Day. It's even less effective today. Our world is changing way too fast for this. Compass leadership understands that while I as the leader have to be crystal clear on our goal, and yes, ideally, we co-create it together with our team members, while I have the responsibility, the buck stops with me. I have the industry experience. I have the seniority. But do I really understand the minutiae of my people's work? Do I know how to deploy Canvas and HubSpot and how to best use Jira? Compass leadership understands the leader needs to be crystal clear on the goal and then empower each of their team members to decide for themselves for how they go from where they are to where they need to be. With as much innovation, creativity, and yes, new technology and self-direction as possible. Compass leadership is where team members thrive, teams shine, and where magic happens. Much like at the Ritz-Carlton. Isn't that a great picture? The president of the Ritz-Carlton, Hervé Hamler, tells the story about a wheelchair-bound young man who checked into the Ritz-Carlton in Dubai together with his family. Upon looking through the massive glass windows of the lobby down to the ocean, he took one look at the beach, turned to his family and said, "I sure wish I could swim in that ocean." The problem was that between the hotel and the sea lay a 50-meter stretch of soft sand over which the wheelchair impossibly could travel, hence crushing the young man's dream to swim in an ocean. Within earshot of the family was a maintenance worker who overheard the conversation, and she thought, "I'm going to do something about it." She quickly rounded up another 5 maintenance workers, and voila, a mere 6 hours later, there was the masterpiece. a brand new wooden walkway down to the ocean over which the wheelchair now could easily travel. For the team members at the Ritz-Carlton, it was just another day as part of an empowered culture where everybody can make decisions on their own with a true north compass of top service no matter what. For the young man, it was the first time he ever swam in an ocean. What the Ritz-Carlton is most proud about is that nobody needs to tell its employees to do these things. Nobody told the maintenance worker, go and build a walkway to the ocean. And she didn't have to check with the supervisor either. Instead, the Ritz has built a culture where every employee is empowered to make independent decisions, all with a true north compass of top service no matter what. Team members that stretch themselves, team members that inspire each other, that's the power of compass leadership at the Ritz-Carlton. It's foundational to creating memories that last a lifetime. So as they say at the Ritz, guests don't just stay at the Ritz, but the Ritz stays with them long after they check out. How do we bring it back? How do we make it operational? Here's what I want you to do. We all know the common goal of the Fred Hutch: end cancer, fight infectious diseases. And by the way, from the bottom of my heart, you've impacted my family's life very directly. So thank you for all the wonderful work that you all are doing. That's the overarching goal. But we each within our teams have the possibility to define the common goal. Sit down with your team, and it doesn't have to be a 2-month process of workshopping vision, mission. No, what's the one thing we need to hit out of the park between now and the end of the year, or now and end of Q1? What's the one thing? And that becomes our common goal.